Hello, my name is Ignacio Salazar. I am the CEO of Highfield Resources. We are in charge of the Muga Project. We are just a fully permitted project here in Spain, potash, and very much about to start construction for a 1 million production of MOP, potash in Spain.
Ignacio, thank you very much for the introduction. Nice to meet you. We crossed paths, although we never met. You may not remember, but we crossed paths about, where are we? 15 years ago in South America, in Uruguay. And what a beautiful country that is. Many happy memories.
Many happy memories. Yes, a lot of...
in
absolutely.
2013, you joined Highfield Resources, and here we are 10 years later.
2020.
Oh, 2020.
We talk about the 10 years, the permitting has been going on. But
the permitting.
I joined in the beginning in the summer of 2020 with COVID, really very much there. But it's been a bit more than 2 years with the company. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, the permitting's taken a long time, and so
the permitting has been running since 2012, 2013. Indeed, that is.
Okay, so here we are. This is the big news. This is what we're, the headline news of last week is that you've got pretty much the final permitting to allow the construction to happen of the Highfield Resources Muga Project near Pamplona.
Absolutely.
So can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Very, very big news. I mean, I think any project in Europe, in Spain, globally, the permitting phase is becoming extremely important. And many projects, just to be honest, don't get to the end of that phase, or that is where many projects end up in trouble. And this company, as we were discussing, has been with the permitting since 10 years ago or so. I mean, we got... a year and a bit more than we got the mining concession. That is where, obviously, from a mining perspective, is the key permit. But still, there were 2 urbanistic licenses, we call, rather than permits, pending for any construction in Spain, and not mining, any sort of business or activity. You need the municipality, the town hall, to grant this license. Those were the 2 key after the mining concession in 2021. They were pending. We got one, as you know, is 2 towns, and every town is in a different region. Obviously, that is part of the complexity here. But in any case, we got the one from Aragón related to the work around the mine and with the mine. The ramps depend on that license in last year, in June 2022. And we got this week have got the last license that allow us to also get into the processing plant. So we are fully permitted now, just to be in the as I said, bulk of construction. We started with the mine gate works last year, but now we can do the whole project going forward.
And from what I can understand, it's a 18-month to 24-month development process. It's almost a 2-year mine build.
More, even slightly more. I mean, the idea is to work, and that's why it was important. We got ahead. We spent 6 months doing the works around the mine gate, which gave us a head start on the ramps, it was just important. That's the reason why we did it, and because we had that part of the license. But it's going to be 2.5 years, in fact. So hopefully our plan is to start now in the second half of this year, 23. So really beginning of 26, we will be in operations. And obviously the idea is you run in parallel ramps and the access to the mine and the access to the potash. So the moment that we get there, we have the processing plant waiting to process the material. Obviously.
And phase 1 is to produce 500,000 500,000 tons of Muga potash on an annual basis.
Absolutely. So we are fully permitted for both phases. I refer to phase 2 in a minute, but phase 1 is 500,000, and together with phase 2, we reach 1 million. We will develop the mine to cover everything, because the ramps is not going to change. And then phase 2 is about replicating the plant and just doing a sort of a mirror image or the way we consider next to, and everything is prepared to do it next to the plant that will cover the first phase.
So when you build the phase 1 plant, there's space next to it so you can you're creating space so that you can just add the extra circuit to double your production.
Yes, the permitting is ready for both. All the numbers that we published are related to both. I mean, the way we see it is after 3-4 years, depending, you have de-risked the project from a technical point of view. Any lessons learned in the construction, you incorporate, and basically you also are generating cash flow now. So probably will make it a lot more feasible to go forward and replicate the plant. The space is there, the plants are there, all the engineering is there. So no doubt, and the economics to do phase 2 are obviously very important, very interesting. Half of the capex, with half of the capex, phase 2, you are doubling the production and the return. So it's no doubt we will go for that.
It's not just de-risking it technically. I mean, you talk about cash flow, but essentially what you'll be doing is you'll be de-leveraging your balance sheet. You'll be de-risking your balance sheet, and you will have de-risked the market as well. You will have had 3 or 4 years of understanding the market.
Absolutely. I mentioned the investor and the market from that, but as you say as well, the market from the point of view of our customers as well is a way to an entry point with 500,000. I mean, for MOP, MOP is globally a market of 78 to 80 million tons globally. So I think it will be a way to get into the market in a orderly fashion. No? I mean, the potash market and our customers is the strongest point of this project. No? So a lot of these projects, they are in the middle of nowhere, competitors, and it's very much how do they manage. For us, it is a strength and an asset rather than something we need to manage, but obviously also it makes a lot of sense from a marketing perspective, marketing of potash, that we go into phases into the market.
But coming back to stage 1 construction, the capex in the updated capex, I think, because you put out an update, was 436 million euros with a contingency in there.
Yes.
And obviously, these things are circular. You can't get the finance until you've got certain things. And, in a sense, you've got one of the last pieces of the puzzle in the form of the license. But I think another key piece of the puzzle is the remainder of the finance, because you've got $320 million worth of debt. So you've got a kind of a missing gap of 120, let's say, million euros to fill, some of which will be through equity, presumably, and some of which will be through a strategic. Well, that's what you've spoken about in the past.
Indeed.
Could you just kind of unpack how you're going to complete that financing, please?
And Mary, you allow me quickly, I think, because you referred to the numbers, we updated the numbers at the end of 2022, so very recently. And we did those numbers on the feasibility, which are 436 capex and also giving us 2 billion in NPV, have been made on, I think, it's a couple of important points. One is including all the inflation pressure, all the concerns that obviously the market had in 2022, which when following the war in Ukraine and the global situation, especially electricity, gas prices went up significantly. So all of that was included, plus all the, prudent approach from the banks, because we were aligning 100% that feasibility study with the numbers the bank used to approve the 320 million pre-finance and the numbers that they presented to their credit committees. So conservative, or at least prudent numbers behind that. I would dare to say that the only thing we saw since then, or the main thing, is that in fact gas and electricity prices came down. No? So let's leave that aside. Very solid number in that feasibility and reconfirming the very attractive economics of Muga. Now, coming back to the financing, indeed, the main let's say, objective for us was to get the project fully permitted, especially, I think everybody it is a major risk, if not the major risk in I think, projects like this in Europe, once again, especially to our investors in Australia, and considering other projects and a sort of how the sector behaves. So massive step, and then is to fulfill the financing to allow us to get through. 320, as you say, comes from the project finance, the banks that is fully agreed, committed, ready. And we've mentioned to the market already is another 25 of leasing with Macquarie, which is mining equipment leasing, that we've been making progress. And now that we have the license, probably we should be back to the market quickly with the final sign-off. And basically the gap is 456, as you say, plus contingencies and working capital and only usual stuff. Together with the banks, obviously, we will make sure we start the project with a reasonable funding going forward. No? And basically for that, we've been talking for a long time. You also write on strategics. We like to say, when we say strategics, we refer to different type of strategics, meaning what we call business strategics, which are more the type of off-takers, mining companies, people in the business, and traders, people like that. And then what I call financial strategics, which will provide additional financing, make sure that let's say the structure that we have going forward to finance this project is the optimum one for the shareholders, and that's what we simply make a success from a financing perspective as well. I think it's a massive step, the licensing into this discussion, especially with the business. The financial strategics are obviously more ready to take a more objective approach and be making progress subject to the license. With the business, it was always more an issue that, the negotiation is a bit more difficult when they don't feel like the permitting risk is already there. No? Nobody wants to take permitting risk, so that's, I think, helps a lot the fact that that risk is already gone and we are fully
especially permitted. In Spain.
Especially in Spain, I think Europe is hard. Spain, unfortunately, some cases that haven't gone right and well known in the Australian market because they are ASX companies. But I think that is a major differentiator for us. Well, and hopefully for Spain, they see our case, I mean, from the company perspective and investor perspective as very great news. And hopefully Spain sees the benefit of getting projects going through, because the credibility and the reputation in the market should improve by doing things like that. So hopefully a win-win for everybody, the fact that we get to this point, and also other companies hopefully get encouragement to keep going and push forward. But in our case, very happy with the result, and a very good reason and opportunity to push even harder now with the strategics, see where we are. And in any case, from our perspective, we feel very confident to go ahead. We were around a couple of times in Australia. I've been in my period with the company, and we've got a lot of support as well in the market, especially from investors looking at this project. Once it was going to be, but now it is fully permitted. It's
always difficult to kind of commit to a significant construction program when the money is not there. You know, so you've started, you've committed to the construction. You know, what's the discussion at the board level? You know, I understand that one of the most important things for an NPV is to start and to bring forward that production date when you start getting your revenues in. But is it not safer, more prudent to wait until you've got that final financing piece in place before you commit to the construction decision?
Yeah. No, that's a good. It's going a bit deeper into the thinking, and the psychology of all these things. But you are absolutely right. There has been a lot of thinking about that, and I tell you, hopefully, simplistically, what we have been doing and the way we see at this. No, we felt important, and we had the capacity to do the work we did last year around the mine gate. So the licensing for that was done, but you are absolutely right. There's still the licensing for the processing plant, so the other town hall was not ready. Now, that was a relatively small in terms of compared to the overall CapEx piece of work, but the key about that work was the time. 6 months that you are going to, and the fact that we could start in the beginning of the summer. So a lot more effective to do it at that moment in time. And in fact, that proved to be the case. Dry conditions, very dry, especially dry conditions last year that allow us to work. I mean, it's not especially difficult. It was all on surface type of work, but it's a lot easier to work with that when you have a sort of a clay environment rather than once it's raining and winter and everything else. So that's been very, very smart. And I think that the main point obviously was that as we move forward, and now I talk what we're looking ahead, that is a different proposition now. It doesn't make sense to start a bit of electricity line or a bit of this or a bit of that. No, I think in our mind now, we want to go with everything in parallel, because as I said, you want to get the ramps finished and the access to the mineral when the plant is waiting for it. And it was important to give us 6 months in the ramps, because if you have a problem in one of the two ramps, 50% of the work would be stuck until you solve the problem. In the plant, it's more flexibility. It's not that you will never have a problem, but you have other ways to compensate for that. So I think that was the reason to do it. Now our focus will be get the financing ready, get prepared from the point of view. You are talking about the money and the work, but it's also about the team.
Yeah.
So we have now 30 people in Highfield. That is the staff. We really want to keep a very lean and mean team in the last few months, or as lean and mean as possible. Well, this construction is going to be at 1,000 people, even if you want to look at from the number of people, for obviously contractors and not it's not going to be HFR staff, that is going to be the people involved. So we need to ramp up on that in a proper way and do this properly, and that is going to take a bit of time. But it's a lot harder the way we see it to start part of this, part of it. You really need to go now in parallel. So for us is to get the financing, get the preparation, the contracting, all the team, and when I say not only Highfield, but the construction team, including contractors, partners, etc., going, and then we build everything in the most efficient way, in the shortest possible time, in budget, on time. That is obviously the objective, and be very focused on the work that we have made.
You said that you were aiming for the start of kind of the next level of construction, really to kind of accelerate that in the second half of the year, which makes me think that in the next quarter, Q2 is the time when you're aiming to get the final financing piece in place and really start recruiting building up the internal capacity of the team.
Yes, absolutely. When we give ourselves a bit of flexibility, we try to provide the market and investors and Crux and others with this information, but give us the second half. So just to give us a bit of flexibility within a clear time frame. Now, what is potentially, I think, is the main flexible, let's say, piece of that timeline is potentially, I think, the strategics. If there is a good strategy with adding a lot to the project, might be worthwhile to wait a bit more for that support or not. But I mean, whatever is 100% in our control, we control, obviously, and we manage. There are things that are not 100%, depends on other groups cooperating with us, and then we will need that flexibility, no? But in any case, but you know how this is moving in these companies. Time is money, and I think is everything ready from our perspective, from the point of view, everything that we can advance. We were very carefully managing the procurement and the purchasing of the plant equipment. We have everything with the mining equipment as well with engineering. The ramp up of the team is going to be done very carefully and very efficiently, but very much is no reason to wait unless when a third party or somebody you are in negotiating something.
And thank you. And you said that you're interested in the business or the finance partners. So clearly that doesn't include other operators. You're not looking at industry players. You're not looking at other producers of potash. Is that right? You're kind of more looking at the private equity groups and the supply chain.
Well, we try to be, this is obviously, try to keep it, give everybody the right message without compromising confidentiality or anything like that, no, obviously. But basically, the way I explain it is business and financial. When I say business, I'm talking about everybody in the business. Could be in our value chain, from the point of view of people that are major partners in the construction to major off-takers. That's obviously very clear candidates. Plus also mining companies and anybody that is in the industry that could add something. In that case, the strategy behind the strategic partner probably potentially is a lot more obvious, because it's a business value added by combining, let's say, not just putting some money or cooperating somehow. So I am putting everybody there, and that was always that one has been a bit more precisely the fact that we have the license, let me put it in a positive way, makes it a lot easier to deal with these people, because that was a big uncertainty up to this point, and I guess a reason not to move fast enough or quick enough. Now, all this group obviously understands in the business, understands that this is it, and this project is fully permitted. The financial group is obviously more adding from the point of view of financial support to the company. Obviously, is people very knowledgeable of the industry, and but they are more a financial interest and not a specific industry angle or business angle into this. But those people have been easier to move ahead, and is having easier to make progress. So we are a lot closer to potential and finalizing deals with that second group. But the first group is very interesting. It's not because the financial was ready to go that we forgot about the business one, and that is going forward. But I think we don't mind to have from both angles. It's not either or the other, no. So let's see what happens. Yeah.
Thank you. And could you just remind me what the shareholder register looks like for Highfield? Who are the major owners of it, and how much is held in retail?
So we have 27% with EMR, Private Equity Australia, and they've been with us many years, and they are obviously very supportive. We have a director of EMR in our board, Brian Jameson. So very close, especially on the strategic, by the way. The strategic processes, they have a lot of contacts and made many introductions to the company. And we have 7% with PCI, this Australian company, SOP, sold there in construction. That comes as a result of Aussie Super, the big fund in Australia used to be our shareholder. They consolidated their gold portfolio first, and then after that, potash portfolio. BCI happened to be ahead of us in terms of about to start construction a year ago or something like that. And they had preference because they were closer. And Aragón and Highfield, what Aussie Super did was put together into BCI. And that way BCI became 7% shareholder of Highfield. And then we have private wealth, especially there is historical shareholding, a strong one from based in Brisbane and Adelaide in Australia. We got from the last, which is more family offices, private individuals, or things like that, retail. And we got a few institutions with relatively small shareholding so far, but in the last equity raise, joining the company with a view to, hopefully a bigger ticket, have a foot on the door to participate in a bigger way going forward. So we don't have a massive institutional shareholding, but small ones that potentially can increase in the future.
Good, thank you. And that kind of takes me onto the wider market. If you look at the whole potash sector, if you look at your peers, and potash prices. When the Ukraine conflict started, and clearly, I think it's kind of 40% of the global market comes from Belarus and Russia. Just last year, you saw prices rise very strongly. Absolutely. Some of that has come away, and the whole sector, all you and your peers, kind of saw this big price peak or spike into 2022, and then it has come back down again. Potash prices are still $450 per ton, kind of Brazil CFR, and which is above the long-term price. What was the long-term price that you used in your updated feasibility study?
No, we have using an average for the long-term price of I think it was at the end of 445 euros per ton. But still they have higher prices in Europe right now. I mean, they come down, but it's still 600 or 700, and as well as Brazil. So as you say, there was a big push on potash prices with COVID. No, I mean, this is even before the war in Ukraine, all the supply disruptions, etc. with COVID. The Ukraine war, exacerbated that. So that was a sort of a jump in prices on top of that increase, and things have slowed down after that. We were counting on that. That was a bit of an extreme situation. To some extent, what you can do with MOP in potash is the farmers can take what they call a holiday. So obviously with those prices, some of the farmers were, let's say, stepping out. The demand was taken away from the market, but they can only take a holiday for one season. They have to come back then the season after. So I think hopefully what we feel is that as a lower level, but still above the long-term average is going to be going for a while. In our view, if I look at thinking about our project in the long run, what probably is more important is that not only Russia and Belarus were 40% of the supply into globally, and by the way, 60% of the supply into Europe. Europe was relying 60% of their demand to Russia and Belarus. But a lot of the projects and a lot of the portfolio of new projects coming in the pipeline to come in the next few years were coming in fact from Russia. So no doubt, I mean, that is a fact that the financing is not there, the uncertainty, it is there, so the investments are not going ahead as planned. So that potential new supply coming in the field, when we will potentially come as well, is more, at the very least, postponed for the time being. So I think it is a decent long-term price we've been working with, and we only have reasons to believe that is very sustainable or higher. And I would add to that in any, and you know that well, Marvin, in these commodities, the main point is to be a lot better than peers, no? So because the market will play itself. And that is, I think, clearly a strength in the project. The fact that we are based in the middle of Europe, surrounded, everybody that visit the project, they see the farms are there. I mean, we have to go through farms to get to the mine and just to get to our project. So, yeah, compared to, as I said, many of these potash projects in the middle of nowhere, and they have a major logistic effort to get to the markets, no? So we are, I mean, just to give you an idea, prices, I like to give this number. Prices in Europe and in Canada are, in Europe, they typically trade at a premium of $100 per ton, no? And that is because, well, Canada to some extent is setting up the price globally, and then you put the extra cost of transportation or reflect that extra logistics to get to Europe. We have an operating cost that is already that below 100 is 90 euros per ton. Yeah. The total operating cost. So transportation costs are a very important element in the cost formula, and that is the key strength of the project that we are in the middle of the market.
Ignacio, thank you so much. I've learned so much about Highfield Resources and about the Muga project in half an hour of conversation. To me, just sitting here, it seems to me that many of the key things are in place. The financing, if you can get it done in the next quarter, will be a really crucial de-risking exercise. And then you go into that phase of building your team and, in parallel, that construction process. So it looks as if you're going to have a busy time ahead. Good luck with the year and the construction process.
No, very, very, very glad to be so busy right now in this way, building a mine. And thanks for the invitation and your interest, Merlin, and the discussion today. Thanks a lot.